Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Home Sweet Hell. So, this, of course, is a Amazon Prime movie that you can go out of your way to see this movie absolutely free if you actually have a Amazon Prime account. You can see that and a number of other movies for absolutely free because Amazon usually has a number of movies that you can conveniently see if you already have an Amazon Prime account. So, this movie, of course, is to seemingly have things like strip clubs, affairs, and a number of other times when you kind of see a woman seemingly with half clothes off. So, but beyond that, this movie is to, of course, also have just kind of a really interesting kind of murder story here where it seems that uh, we end up having a mother that is to decide that she otherwise wants her husband and then herself to just start killing people because there is a supposed rhyme or reason for that to happen. So, going into this film, we have Dawn, who is to, of course, be this furniture store owner, and so that has him hire this new girl where he, of course, thinks nothing of it. But Les, who is Jim Belushi's character, is just like, hey, man, like, definitely hire her. So he does. And this all of a sudden sparks this affair that all of a sudden sparks Don telling his wife the truth about this affair. And then so all of a sudden this wife, who is Mona, is to decide to, well, the only way that you're going to be able to rectify this whole thing is by killing this woman. And then seemingly after that, we are to have Mona killing several other people to the point of her bloodlust is to just start kicking off. So this may not be like my favorite movie that Katherine Heigl is to be in, because I like the movie The Ugly Truth, but I can say that I can enjoy this movie. Like, this movie is just kind of fun. The whole concept of it is to, of course, be a pretty fun film for the most point. To have kind of like Don doing the reactions or doing the kind of things that he is to do in this film is really just kind of fun to play off of certain other characters like a Mona or like a Dusty or something like that. But we also have where Don has consistently kind of played this kind of character where he ends up playing the man who has had an affair, like the movie Zipper, or any number of things that I'm sure that he's played in at this point, because he's kind of played a plethora of these kinds of roles. So, but going into this, it is kind of fun to see Mona, who is to like kill people, and then she is to seemingly be this unstoppable force to at some point see where she is to possibly get her comeuppance, and to possibly see if Don is going to, at the end of this movie, in your own mind, if he is going to get his comeuppance also. So, with that said, I think that's all I want to say in this movie. I'm going to go out of my way to say that it's that double 5 time territory because it's that customary time yet again to go into spoiler time. Spoiler time, it's about that time again. Spoil this movie. So, like I had said, we have Don, who, of course, Don Champagne, who is to, of course, be this furniture store owner, and he is to hire this slim young thing where Jim Belushi's character, Les, is to say, like, hey, man, hire that girl. Give us something to look at while we're, while we're working. Like, give us something to strive to. So, Dawn, of course, is to hire this Dusty character, and so it seems that we have Dawn, who is kind of getting uh, a real dry spell forcibly in his marriage, because Dawn is to, of course, be wanting spontaneous lovemaking from his wife, and his wife is to just say, like, well, like, I put it on the calendar when exactly we're going to make love. And Dawn is like, well, can we just do something little simple, something like, could I just could I just put my Johnson in between your legs and just kind of, we can do that. And so Mona's like, well, sure, like on the date of the calendar. It's just like, and so basically, Catherine's character Mona is to tell uh, Don that forcibly he's gonna have to beat his own meat until that date is to be met, because basically Mona is to plan her whole life. Like, she is to have her own Our Goals book, where it seems that she is to be planning off every bit of their lives and scheduling everything and so on and so forth. So, like, this girl probably has everything of her life planned to a T, and more than likely that could be a miserable thing. But it's always good to, like, have a person that is to plan stuff, but there's also that whole moment of, like, okay, there's planning, and then there's, like, planning to the second of everything, and then it's just like, it's a miserable thing. Like, could we just wing it? Could we just see what it's going to be like? So we go on, and so we have Mona, who has this weird Our Goals book that she used to thumb through consistently in this film. So Don, of course, who's getting more and more frustrated with Mona, is to just go off and have this fling with Dusty, because Dusty is to basically wake Don up one day while he's resting onto the couch of his office, and she's to basically give him a BJ without him realizing it, without him knowing it. So all of a sudden, Don is to start having this affair with this woman. Consistently, she is throwing herself at him and closing the store at some points to go on lunch so that way they can go at it, and so on and so forth. Consistently, this keeps happening almost every single day. So then Dusty is to come to Don and say, Dusty, I'm pregnant. And so Don is like, are you sure? Because I thought you were on the pill, yada, yada, yada. Dusty's like, well, like you were the one who popped your champagne bottle in me. And so, like, you have to, like, deal with that kind of problem. So Don is to just go like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? Like, Dusty's to want to keep the baby. What am I gonna do with this? And so Les is just like, well, here's the thing. Like, maybe you should try and go and kind of quickly try to pay her off. Like, I have 7,000 I can loan you. Like, how much do you have? And so Don's like, well, $6,000. And Don's like, okay, so $13,000, give that to her, and like, and maybe this will all just go away. So Don goes and is to offer Dusty $13,000, and Dusty's like, I don't know. Like, there's one appointment that I had with my specialist that cost $900, and Dusty's like, wow, or Don's like, wow, that's some specialist. So Dusty is, of course, to be with a man called Murphy, and Murphy is, of course, to be this guy who is to be this con artist that is trying to, in one way or another, to figure out how to swindle people out of money. and both Murphy and Dusty are to be lovers, supposedly, and they have orchestrated this thing numerous times over. So, Dawn is to kind of now go to Les yet again, Jim Belushi's character, and is like, hey, like, it doesn't seem like 13,000 is going to cut it. I don't know what to do. Home, no, no. And so Les is just telling Dawn, it's like, well, maybe it's time for you to go and finally tell Mona about this. Like, her family's well off, and maybe you should tell her the truth, because when the real thing of it is if this girl is lying to you, then like maybe you can just pay her off to make her vanish and you'll never hear this again from Mona. But if this is true and this girl is pregnant, well, maybe there's going to be maybe in the next 20 years some kid knocking on your door saying, oh, hey, you're my baby daddy. And so, like, and Mona will have realized this, that, oh my God, like, you had an affair? How could you have? And so Dawn is like, well, that's a good idea. That's a smart idea. So Dawn confesses to Mona, and it seems like she is to not be heavily upset about this, screaming, yelling, and whatever. But her consensus after going and starting to thumb through her Our Goals book is that Dusty needs to be killed. And Dawn's like, so what now? Like, I have to do what now? And she's like, yeah, kill Dusty and this whole thing will be fixed. And so Dawn's like, okay, because Mona is to plan to overdrug Dusty and kill her that way. And so Dusty is to, of course, call Dawn after speaking with Murphy. And so Dusty's to mention, like, well, I don't think 13,000 is going to cut it. I think it's going to have to be 25,000. And so Dawn is like, okay, I can get that kind of money together. While he's saying all this, Mona is to be listening in. So Dawn goes to the store to give Dusty this money. And so he's like, well, hey, how about you and I go and have one last drink, like for the road, so to speak, you know? Like, I'll give you all this money and you'll have this drink. And so, like, you would have thought that Dusty would have just said, well, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm not going to drink any alcohol. Like, it'll ruin the pregnancy or whatever. But no. Dusty doesn't say that at all, telling us that she is to, of course, not really be pregnant, I guess, because why wouldn't she be cautiously thinking about her child, I guess, but whatever, right? So Dusty goes and drinks this alcohol, and of course the alcohol is drugged, and so after Dusty used to drink this drink, Dawn is just like, okay, when is it gonna kick in? Like, he literally says that. And so all of a sudden, Dusty is to start to get sick, and she's just starting to like, whoa. And that's the really good thing about Jordana right here, is that she's like, she's doing this, but she's doing it in a very comedic like fashion. And Dawn is to just be like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this. Because Jordana is to just start flopping around like a fish in this place. Just be like, you drugged me. And Dawn's like, yeah, I drugged you. I'm sorry. So she's starting to flop around and fall over and all this stuff, trying to get out of this place. And Dawn is trying to stop her, and so she falls over. And so Dawn is to say that Mona had forced her to do this. And then Mona comes in and he's like, forced you to do this? Really? So they drag Dusty into this SUV or whatever the vehicle is. And so Dusty technically is not dead. Like, it seems like all these drugs didn't exactly work. So, Mona decides to have Dawn go and now kill Dusty and take a hammer to her head. And Dawn's like, say, what now? I have to do what? And Mona's like, you know what, fine. Like, if you can't do the dirty work. So Mona goes and smacks a hammer into Dusty and kills her. And then Mona goes off and is to now, like, take off take off her dress and to cut into Dusty piece by piece by piece. And then it's to go and tell Dawn that Dusty wasn't pregnant because she knows. So, and plus also that they need more garbage bags because this girl is to be chopped up in a lot more bodies than what she would have thought are parts of a body. So they go and they bury this body, and so what happens is that's not the end of it all. All of a sudden Murphy is to go on and still want his money, and so since he can't get it from Dusty because Dusty had disappeared, now Murphy is to want it from Dawn. Just like, hey, where's my money? So we have it where Les is getting beaten up. Jim Belushi's character is getting beaten up by these guys who are with Murphy. And so Jim Belushi is to call the police, and there's to be this officer there to fill out a report of this whole mugging situation. Chief Malcolm Brown. Malcolm? Sure. So we also have Chief Brown mentioning that, hey, like, is Dusty to have been a person that worked here? And Don's like, well, yeah, like, why are you asking? And so Chief Brown is to say, it's like, well, like, when did you last see her? And so they're like, well, about a week ago. Like, week ago, that seems weird. And like, yeah, I don't know. Like, so Chief Brown is just like, okay, well, that's fine. So Don is to get a letter, I guess, in his mailbox, a threatening letter that is to, of course, show a picture of him and his wife, and is to tell him to go to meet, to tell Don to go and meet him at a strip club, and so on and so forth. So Don goes and does so, and so now Murphy's to ask where Dusty is, and Don's like, I don't know. I don't know where she is. So Murphy is to want to, of course, to get his money, and or else he's going to kill all of Don's family. But so Don is to go on and have to forcibly do a line of meth, so that way it doesn't seem like he is to not be on the level as well as these other guys. That it seems like he's trying to, like, which it is what it is here. So Don goes off, and Don is to tell Mona, like, what all, like, they had said in this place. And so Mona is to have the comeback of just like, well, hey, like, I, like, had followed Dusty to her house one day, and I had figured out where exactly she lived. And so how about we go and we drop off her body parts in this house and then leave, and then have these guys be held up for this murder. We can just kind of we can just forcibly, like, put this all on them. So Don's like, okay, but that will probably lead to possibly more murdering going on. So Mona is to go to Dusty's house, and she is to go on and say, like, hey, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to put all these body pieces in there, and then I'm going to, like, whatever I need to do to get out of there, I'm going to get out of there. And so Don's like, well, how about I go in there with you with my Zorro mask? And so Mona's like, no, like, I think you can't do any of this. Like, you're worthless. Like, I'm just gonna go in there and I'll be out soon. So Mona is to go into the trailer, and so it seems that one of Murphy's guys named Freeman is to come back home to be, of course, going to get it on with some girl that he met, some rando. So all of a sudden, both of them are starting to get hot and heavy, both Freeman and this other girl. And so Freeman is to leave to go into another room. And so weirdly, we have, I guess, these guys with these katana swords. And so this girl grabs one of them. And so Mona ends up just walking right in front of where the door is, trying to see if she can sneak her way out. And the girl is to spot her and just be like, oh, are you my surprise? Yeah, it's a surprise, all right, that you're going to get killed here. Because Mona is to go and put a sword through this girl's chest and murder her. Freeman ends up coming out and is like, well, hey, like, don't I know you from somewhere? And Mona's like, yeah, you know me because you're going to die soon. Because Mona is to go and stab Freeman multiple times and then leave. And so Freeman is to call Murphy while Murphy is going and having a wild time with some rando girl. And so Freeman is to mention that, hey man, like, I'm dying, I've gotten stabbed um, by that furniture salesman's wife. So Murphy comes home, and so Mona is to make a emergency call from some burner phone saying that, hey guys, like, I'm going to file a report saying that there is a disturbance. So Murphy is to, of course, come home with some other guy that ends up getting shot up by these police. And so Murphy is to scramble out of this trailer and is to try to hide from these police officers while they start thumbing through this trailer and finding Dusty's body. So Chief Brown is to go on and meet up with Don the next day and is to tell him, like, hey, like, uh, remember that girl that's been missing for about a week or so? And so Don's like, well, yeah, like, what about her? And so he's like, oh, she's dead. It's like, okay, that wraps that up. So, but Chief Brown is like, well, that's not it. Like, it seems that there was to be this one guy named Murphy who was last seen with you, or a description of a guy that looks like you at some strip club. What was that all about? And so Don was to come clean with this chief and mention that supposedly him and Dusty had an affair, and Murphy was to find out about it. So Don went on to go and pay this guy off, so that way the whole thing could just be like between these two people. And so Chief Brown is like, well, okay, all right. So, like, hopefully no one's going to tell Mona about this because we don't want another dead body on our hands. And they're both laughing. So the Chief Brown just goes off and just kind of like case resolved. Everything is to be fine. So So Dawn goes at one point, and because we have it where when Mona's family is to come into town, Mona is to have Dawn want the lawn looking a certain specific way. And so Dawn is like, well, I thought I cut it good enough. And Mona's like, well, not it's not good enough for Daddy. And so Dawn is just like, well, why should it matter that it's not good enough for him? Like, did he pay for this whole entire house? And Mona's like, well, he kind of put up some money for it. It's like, and so Dawn is to also gripe about it. It's like, well, like, is he going to tell us how, like, we should educate our kids too? Because technically he forked over some money to send them to private school. And Mona's just like, well, yeah, like, he's just wanting the best education for our kids. And and Dawn's like, sure, like, whatever. Like, it's like, you know what? If Dawn hasn't, or if Dawn, if Mona's dad has a problem with way like the lawn is cut, or like the way the kids are educated, this guy could go in and do it himself. That would really be the way that I'd see it. It's just like, it's like, I don't know, like, if you want something done a perfect way, or if you gripe about it after the fact of somebody doing it, then it's just like, hey, just do it yourself. Like, I don't think it should have mattered what it really looks like as long as it's done. So, now, at the end of this movie, we have where Dawn is to ask Mona, like, why are you like this? Like, why do you have to schedule everything? Why do you have to do everything the way that you do them? Like, why have you gotten to this breaking point? Like, was it something from your past? Was it something when you were a kid? Was it something that when you were young? Like, when was it? Like, when was this time that you just turned into this kind of person? And so Mona starts crying, and she tells Dawn that to never ask that thing again, or Mona is going to grab one of the knives from her night table or table stand, or like a table that's next to her bed, her nightstand, and so she's gonna take out one of those knives and stab Dawn and murder him. And so Dawn is just like, okay, so like this girl is just losing it. So Dawn all of a sudden is seeing Mona get out her Our Goals books again, and Dawn is to still see the drawer open with all the knives in it. He's just like, oh, she was telling the truth. Son of a bitch. Anyway, so Donna, how about that Our Goals book? As Mona is to basically pat the bed, forcing Dawn to sit next to her, even though he would probably like to just go right to sleep, with the image of thinking that at any hard snore, Mona is just going to take a knife to Dawn's jugular and kill him off. So the next day, we have this get together, and so Mona is to be with all these people at this birthday party where it seems this kid is to be blindfolded and is to be kind of spun around into this pinata like situation where this kid is going and smacking this pinata, but no candy is going out. So Mona is to finally just be so frustrated? That's not a word. Frustrated with this one kid who is to be this steroid like freak of sorts. And so Mona finally goes and is to confront Jim Belushi's Jim Belushi about it, Les about it, to really just say that this kid is a cheater and he's a freak and he's a whatever. So Les is just like, hey, he's just a kid. And so Mona is just like, well, Les, you're an alcoholic and I can smell it on you. And so all of a sudden, like Les's wife, Mona, is to say that like she is to have like some kind of um, problem with her, and that Mona hopes that this girl craps herself to death. And I'm just like, oh my god. So Don has had it up to here with Mona, like the threatening of like killing Don, and just Mona just taking control, and like in any kind of moment she's just going to kill anybody anytime that she wants to. Because Mona at one point is to have a neighbor's dog come over to their yard. And so Mona is to tell this neighbor, hey, if your dog comes over here one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So Don is to go and find and get something out of the refrigerator and find that the dog is frozen in this refrigerator. I'm like, oh my god. So Don is saying, like, you know what, enough is enough. So Don goes and is to go and fix this light to where it starts to spark and malfunctions. And so Don is to also go on and turn on these propane tanks. And so Don is to go and talk to uh, Mona in the kitchen, and she's like, you know what? I think we should go on vacation. Like, maybe it's time for us to leave everything behind and to just kind of get away from all of this. And Don's like, well, that sounds like a great idea, and they kiss. So Don is to tell Mona, like, hey, can you go and get me something from out of the garage? And so Mona, of course, is to turn on this light, and the garage is to, of course, spark with the light. And so all of a sudden, the garage ends up blowing up, and so Dawn is to be going out getting something on the grill, preparing something on the grill, and the house blows up. So the next thing that I guess we end up seeing here is that Dawn, I guess, is to go off with the kids to go somewhere, I guess, on a vacation possibly. And so it seems that Murphy on his motorcycle is uh, following them off to, I guess, eventually kill them, just kind of full circle this whole ordeal. So, with that said, I think that wraps up the movie. I think I covered most of this. I don't think I'm worried about anything that I slipped or tripped or didn't exactly say, because this movie is to really be pretty simple, which is great. So with that said, I think I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.